a panicked, rushed, forced Oklahoma City offense. You know, to put it all on Kevin Durant's lap because of the misses, I think maybe is a little bit unfair because it's a mentality about their team. It's not just Kevin Durant. It's not like he's a selfish player. And when they go to the post game and they say all the right things, hey, it's just one of those nights, man. I got the looks I wanted, just didn't knock him down. It's just not accurate. I watched every second of the game. I charted every play, every possession. I went back and watched it again this morning. There were 8 to 10 or more forced, quick, premeditated shots and possessions that are so predictable and easy to defend if you're Rick Carlisle and the Mavs, because you don't have to make any adjustments if they start moving the ball out of double teams. And now Waiters or Ibaka or Kanter get involved. Now, if you're Carlisle, you're taking a timeout, and now you have to make an adjustment. They don't make any. The ball's coming up one side of the floor. It's going to one person, and he was going to shoot it. It almost looked last night to me like Kevin Durant was saying to himself, I'm going to prove that I can get myself out of this. And even on a night when I don't have it, I'm going to win this game. And that's just not good basketball. I don't care. Scott Brooks used to get beat up for their fourth-quarter offense. And I'm biased. He's a friend, and I think he's a very good coach. But I think that there were times offensively, and he will admit it, that they didn't get enough ball movement. Nothing like what I saw last night. They only needed 2 or 3 baskets in a 6-minute stretch, and they win that game. And they just kept going to the same place on a night that wasn't feeling it, at the total exclusion of the rest of their team. Dion Waiters, Enes Kanter, and Serge Ibaka are good players in this league, and they're treated in the fourth quarter sometimes like they're guys at the YMCA playing pickup, playing with the 2 good players.
Yep.
And it's just not the way basketball teams at that level that should have championship aspirations play the game.
Well,
and the contrast was immediately after them watching the team without the MVP put up 115 with ball movement and second-team guys and all of that, showing you what good basketball looks like. And Oklahoma City was so predictable and played with such a lack of poise. It was frustrating to me as a fan of the team to watch.
I totally agree with you, but I need your counsel here.
Yes.
Who's culpable for that?
Billy Donovan.
Because we were saying this when Scott Brooks was there.
Right.
We're saying it now that Billy Donovan is there. Who's culpable for all of this, and how do you alleviate it?
It's Billy Donovan because it's his responsibility to get him to play differently. But I'm going to be the first to admit this. Look, I haven't walked into that locker room and been around those guys on a daily basis and tried to get them to play the way that I know in my heart is good offense. So I don't know if he's tried it. And it's just really tough with 2 guys with this kind of talent to get them to play that way. Maybe it's a lot harder than it looks. But I do know that last night in the fourth quarter of that game, there was nothing on that team's mind but trying to get Kevin Durant shots to see if he could carry him through this. And it didn't make any sense to me because they're better than that. Their roster is better than that. The one play they ran for Westbrook, that was a well-designed play for a little flare screen on the weak side for a 3. Okay, let's stop right there. Russell Westbrook is a 30% three-point shooter, and that's what you came up with in a tie game with 1.5 minutes to go in the game. Why not Russell Westbrook off a high ball screen with Enes Kanter going downhill trying to make something happen, which is his strength? Didn't see any of that. So even when he ran a well-designed play, I don't understand what you're looking for in that result with a guy that's not his strength. But the other ones off the down screens and the quick threes by Durant, shooting over double teams with 4 guys standing on the perimeter, it just is bad basketball. And look, they'll win this series because they have more talent than ours. But that's not what their idea should be, right, Skip? It should be, we expect to win a title, and you just can't do it. And it was cold water in my face last night how different they are than Golden State and San Antonio, and that's why we don't talk about them in the same vein.
Okay, I'm with you, and I wanted to make the point before I go on. I will not be surprised if Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook go for a combined 70 points in Game 3 just to say, watch this, because they are highly capable. They have 2 of the best 3 players in basketball. Enes Kanter is 10th in player efficiency rating, and to your point, he scored 2 points in the fourth quarter because he just mostly has to watch. 2 of the best players in the world try to figure out how to get the game home. They've struggled all year. As you remember, they blew 14 fourth-quarter leads in which they lost the game. That's more than the last 3 NBA champs combined blew fourth-quarter leads. They're up 78-71 last night with 6 minutes left. And I'm not going to take Russell Westbrook completely off the hook here because Kevin Durant shot 7 for 33. Last 6 minutes, there were 5 possessions that started and ended with Russell Westbrook with the ball in his hands. 4 missed shots and 1 turnover. Okay, if you are the quote-unquote point guard, you have to have the feel for the game to get it home. If Kevin's struggling, you have to go another direction. And I can't put Billy Donovan on the hot seat or on the hook because do you really think that Billy Donovan can tell Russell Westbrook what to do in the fourth quarter? Because I don't. I think he's virtually uncoachable, especially by a first-year, a quote-unquote rookie NBA head coach. I just think he's not going to listen to Billy. He might listen to somebody else on the bench, a Mo Cheeks or somebody.
Well, then, match this. Do you think that that's a bad hire? Then why bring in anybody if that's the case? Certainly a guy with no NBA experience that feels like he doesn't have the cachet to change their offense.
Had gotten to a point where occasionally Russell would listen to Scott Brooks, which is why I was shocked that they went a different direction. There are a lot of politics going on, as you know, through your friend, Scott Brooks, but again, they would have a better chance of getting these games home with Scott because they trusted him a little bit. But in this case, again, I've never seen Kevin Durant rush shots and get as completely out of sync as he was last night. And it has to come down to the point guard, and I call it their Achilles feel, not heel. They just have an Achilles feel for the game where the two of them can't figure out, to your point, just how do you make a few basketball plays to get this game home? The other teams lost everybody. They don't have Chandler Parsons, J.J. Barea, and David Lee, and Darren Williams. They're all out. They're the classic, as Dick Motta used to tell me, the wounded tiger. They're just playing on heart and grit and toughness. And they got nothing. And you let them out of that trap? It's unbelievable. It was a stunner.
Can we touch on a bigger point that none of us have ever brought up? It's a two-parter. One is the fact that we've talked about LeBron James on so many occasions and what he hasn't done. Well, at least LeBron has 2 rings. Kevin Durant is still looking for his first.
Fair point.
And he's a superstar of the highest order where there's a level of accountability that now needs to be thrown in his direction. Point number 1. Point number 2, Russell Westbrook has now elevated himself to superstar status. And the fact that they are collaborating and they still have failed to capture the chip, albeit due to injuries. One year or last, Kevin Durant was out last year. The year that they lost to Memphis, Russell Westbrook was out after the Patrick Beverly injury. But with them being healthy and with Scott Brooks being gone, and with Kevin Durant approaching free agency this summer and Russell Westbrook approaching free agency next summer, although Kevin Durant could simply choose to sign a 2-year deal with OKC with a 1-year out like LeBron did in Cleveland last year, here's the reality. Because it's basketball, Tim, and you've got the both of them, if they don't win, it won't just be Kevin Durant being talked about anymore. It will be Russell Westbrook, too. So maybe, just maybe, what they need to start hearing are the expectations that come along with superstardom. Because we get so caught up in talking about their abilities, we don't talk about the culpability that's on their shoulders. You have to get it done. And just relying on each other and not on the Deion Waiters, the Steven Adams, the Enes Kantors, the Serge Ibakas may not be acceptable any longer. Perhaps somebody needs to tell them that.
Agree. And I think that the mentality has to change, that it has to be one of those 2 guys on every important possession, because it's just not what good teams do. They trust everybody to make a play.
Tim, this was fun. Appreciate your analysis. We'll see you back soon.
You know this stuff. I'm impressed.
You should have saw him breaking down plays earlier.
Oh, wow.
Pretty good on the touchscreen.
Yeah.
Next level. Coming up, we take a hard left turn here. Rex Ryan introducing the Donald. Yes, you heard Donald Trump at a rally yesterday. Do Skip and Stephen A have a problem with this? We're debating that next. Reaction to Rex introducing the Donald?
Well, my reaction is that I don't really think it was he had any business doing it. I mean, if you're a coach in the National Football League, to intertwine yourself with politics in such a flagrant fashion, I'm not sure how wise that is. He certainly has the right to do it, and I certainly don't want to be critical in that regard. But somebody like Rex Ryan should be preoccupying himself more with coaching his Buffalo Bills squad. Now, let me say this. In terms of Donald Trump, Skip, we've spoken on a few occasions in the past. When the Buffalo Bills were, up for being sold, I had a conversation with him back back then. We ran into each other at a hotel in Vegas on the eve of the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight as well. He's always been very, very nice to me. I don't necessarily agree with some of the things I hear him say, but he's always been very, very nice to me. What I would say, however, is this. Having said all of that, the one part that comes across as a bit disingenuous and ironic in all of this is that the very man who introduced Donald Trump is a man I have no doubt would have fired Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan, his last 4 years in New York, didn't make the playoffs. Rex Ryan, his first year in Buffalo, hasn't made the playoffs. That's 5 straight years that Rex Ryan, head coach Rex Ryan, has not been able to take his team to the postseason. The Donald Trump that we see on The Apprentice, the Donald Trump that used to own a team in the USFL, the Donald Trump that wanted to own a team in the NFL, would not have had Rex Ryan as his coach based on his last 5 years of productivity. So I did find that a bit ironic and somewhat comical that Rex Ryan was introducing him yesterday in Western New York, but that's just me.
Well, what I found even more comical is that when after Trump was introduced, he revised history and said that Rex won 2 championships in New York. AFC champ, he wasn't sure how to say it, but I don't remember Rex winning the AFC championship, even though he got to 2 AFC championship games. But now back to the point. This is just me, my 2 cents from a distance. I don't believe that the head coach of an organization and a football team, an NFL team that represents an entire region should be allowed to introduce any big political candidate, any presidential candidate, and appear to endorse said candidate just by introducing him or her, whichever candidate it might be. I don't think that should be allowed. Again, Rex can vote for whomever he so chooses, but that's a private matter. This became a very public matter. And it doesn't ring true to me that it comes across that the Bills are somehow supporting Trump, even though I know it's not meant to come across that way. It's just uneasy. And I think in the end, it was Rex's ego speaking the loudest because he loves the stage, he loves the limelight. And hey, whether he loves Trump or not, to be able to introduce Donald Trump at a big rally, he's there.
I know there are people that will sit up there and look at a guy like Woody Johnson, the owner for the New York Jets, who's a staunch Republican and openly supports Republican candidates and say, well, he does it, but he's an owner. He's not a coach. He cuts the checks. He doesn't cash them. And in the case of Rex Ryan, when you have to deal with an amalgamation of players, okay, from different backgrounds, you don't, again, I'm not casting aspersions on anybody. We're not getting involved in all of that. But you don't know who Donald Trump may have offended that might be in your locker room. Something for Rex Ryan to think about.
Good point.
Trump and Rex talk about good sound bites. All we need is Jerry Jones now. Headlines for days. More First Take after the break. Stay here.
Gratuitous.
We have a source telling Chris Broussard and the Associated Press that Minnesota plans to interview Mark Jackson on Wednesday. Stephen A., is he a good fit for this job?
Yes, I do believe that Mark Jackson would be a good fit for the job because I think he'd have the ability to influence young talent. But I'm also an individual that doesn't believe Sam Mitchell should have lost his job. He had the interim tag attached to it. As far as I'm concerned, the man can coach, and the players were growing and getting better under him. They needed to add a couple of veterans to teach them how to win. But Mark Jackson is a guy that won 51 games his last season in Golden State, 47 games before that, going to the semifinals and then losing a 7-game first round then. I think he deserves an opportunity, and I hope that he gets it.
He would be an even better choice to me than Jeff Van Gundy or Thibodeau would be, so I hope he gets a shot.
Who they already interviewed.
I agree.
Gentlemen,
I agree.
It's been fun. First Take fam, thanks for hanging with us.
All
We'll
right.
see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a wonderful day.